Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we've got a show for you today. First topic we'll be going over is my National League Power Rankings. It is a Friday, so I am going to go over my new Power Rankings for the league. After that, we'll be doing the American League for the Power Rankings, then talking about a little bit of a trade deadline preview. The trade market has been pretty active for this time in baseball, more than normal, so I did want to just give my thoughts on who could potentially be traded next. And finally, talk about Robert Gasser being called up by the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, before we do all that, I would like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get into our show for today. All right, as I talked about, we are going to be going over the National League Power Rankings for this week. I try to update these every week now. I did it last week as well. I'm going to try to do this every Friday, so I think it's pretty appropriate. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with the National League, of course, and we're going to go from 15 to 1. So here, we're going to start off with number 15. At number 15, we have maybe a surprise to some people, but not a surprise that they're low on this list, the Colorado Rockies. Now, I have the Rockies as 15th in the National League. I do think they are the worst team in the league so far. There's really not much to currently say about this Rockies team. They're really bad. They don't have good players. Yeah, I don't know what to say about the Rockies really that hasn't been said. They're bad. They have maybe one good player in Ryan McMahon, and that's about it. So, yeah, from a Rockies fan, not feeling very good. But they do have some stuff, I guess, in the future. You just called up Jordan Beck. You extended Ezequiel Tovar. Adel Amador is coming up soon. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel, but right now there's not much for Rockies fans and not much going on for them. So, yeah, they're at 15 here for my National League Power Rankings. Don't have them very high. Don't think they're that good. At number 14, I have the Miami Marlins. Now, no surprise, 15 and 14. We all know what these two teams. We all know who the two teams were that were going to be down here. Once we get past 14, it starts to get at like actual competent teams and competent organizations. Both of these two are awful and have no idea what they're doing. So, yeah, both teams are awful. Not really going to, again, spend too much time on the Marlins here. They're really bad. They have a record of, 10 and 29, which is not good. Not good at all. So, pretty clear why they're in fourth place here. They just traded one of their best players in Luis Arias already in May. So, obviously not trying to win. Not much to say here. They're not very good. Have some okay players, but a lot of them are underperforming, and just overall the team is not doing well. So I have the Marlins here at number 14. At number 13, I have the St. Louis Cardinals. Now the Cardinals are here at 13, even though they do have some good amount of they do have a good amount of players that are actually pretty good because of just real underperformance. When you look at the Cardinals this year, you just think about all these players that are supposed to be stars, supposed to be really good, and just are not playing to their potential. First of all, you look at Paul Goldschmidt, who has been horrible this year for the Cardinals. Nolan Arenado, who has been okay, but definitely not his usual self. The pitching hasn't even been that bad. I mean, has it been good? No. But you have Sonny Gray now, who's been really good, been the ace you've been looking for a few years. Lance Lynn's been fine. But after that, it's kind of a disaster. The bullpen's pretty good, but again, if your pitching's not doing well and your hitting's not hitting, it doesn't really matter about the bullpen, does it? So there's a lot of holes in this Cardinals team right now. There's not much they can do because it's not like they just have bad players in bad positions. No, they have really good players at these positions. They're just not performing. I mean, their hitting core is one of the biggest strengths for them for a long time, and these guys have just not been hitting and not been performing. So, yeah, if I'm a Marlins fan, I am worried about if I'm a Cardinals fan, I am worried about the future, worried about this year. I'm interested to see where they go from here. We'll talk about maybe a potential trade candidate down here in the future. So, yeah, we're the Cardinals here at number 13. Just a really bad season for them so far and a lot of underperformance. Number 12, I have the San Francisco Giants. Now, the Giants are very, very low on this list for where we expect them to be, and that's for a reason. I mean, their offense has been pitiful. I had mainly a full segment on them yesterday, so if you want to see me talk about that more in depth, go to that. That was on the channel yesterday. But yeah, this Giants team, their offense is not hitting. It's really been that. I mean, Conforto has really been the only one hitting for this team. Everyone else, the guys they signed like Matt Chapman, Jorge Soler, Jung Hoo Lee, have been very underwhelming, not good whatsoever. So right now, there's not a lot going right for this Giants team hitting-wise. Their pitching is absolutely fantastic. I mean, Logan Webb, Jordan Hicks, Blake Snow when he gets healthy and comes back Cy Young last year. You get Robbie Ray back, Alex Cobb back. Kyle Harrison's been a beast. So their pitching is absolutely phenomenal, but their hitting is just so bad that it really is not outweighing it at all. So, yeah, their pitching's been horrible. They have good offensive pieces here, but yeah, it has not been good. Number 11, I have the Cincinnati Reds. For the Reds, I did expect to have them higher on this list going into the year. I thought they were the best team in the National League Central, and right now I have them as the fourth best. Now, I still do think the Reds are a really good team, but injuries have hit them hard, and that's why they are down here. Elly De La Cruz has been outstanding. Their pitching's been really solid as well. Frankie Montas proved to be a good signing before he got injured. Hunter Green has been good. Nick Lodolo's been solid. So I didn't want to put them here, but it's just the injuries have really hurt them. Matt McLain getting hurt was, I think, the big nail in the coffin for them. So overall, I think their potential is really up there for any team. I think they are one of the pure best rosters in this league. I love the signings they did this offseason, but just have not done great this year so far, and have not really lived to their potential. Some injuries, some just underperformance, but Elly De La Cruz, man, is he a beast. I mean, he's really carrying this team. He is having an insane season, so watch out for him. But yeah, definitely a lot of underperformance here for the Reds. At number 10, I have the Washington Nationals moving into the top 10 here. Did anyone expect the Nationals to be a top 10 team? I don't think so. So for the Nationals this year, they've just had a lot of their young players finally show up. I mean, their pitching's been really nice. They've had some good performances from the young guys that have been there before and finally making a name for themselves. I mean, Trevor Williams has been amazing. Mitchell Parker, who's a guy that came out of nowhere for the Nationals, he's been incredible as well. So overall, their pitching has been solid. Their hitting core, I mean, man, this hitting core is really, really good. Luis Garcia and C.J. Abrams proving to be a real legit middle of the diamond duo for a long, long time. Both have been hitting great this season, so that's a really positive outlook. Some of their other players have been solid as well. Keeper Ruiz, a guy I really like for the future. They have a lot of other guys coming up, like Dylan Cruz, who could potentially make an impact soon, James Wood. So Nationals right now aren't doing that bad. I mean, they're kind of close in the wild card race. Currently, they're 18-18, directly at 500. So if you're a Nationals fan, I'd say finishing at above 500 was pretty much just a dream in the start of the season. So they're doing really well so far. I don't know if it's legit, but I think there are some pieces there that could prove to be legit. So props to them, and we'll definitely have to see what happens with them the rest of the season. But they've done really, really well so far. And number 9, I have a team that is falling a little bit from before, the New York Mets. Now, the Mets before, when I had them on this list, I had them at number 3. One of the times I believe they were doing insane. Were on that crazy run they had where they went 10-3 or something like that. But since then, have fallen back down to earth a little bit. They're just so mediocre that I don't know where to put them. I mean, some days they look like the best team in baseball. Other days they couldn't hit water if they fell off a boat. So there's a lot of inconsistency here for this team. A lot of inconsistent hitters, a lot of inconsistent pitchers, just inconsistency overall. They haven't really put together a full streak where I'm saying, oh, that's them, that's what this team is. Yes, they had that long streak at the start, but then they lost 3 consecutive series. So there's really not been much consistency with this team and just kind of togetherness. So I'm watching them, see if something could finally happen, but still 9. It's not that low. Obviously, it's lower than I think I was expecting to put them as a Mets fan. But I think this is a fair spot for them. You could argue that you could have them higher above some of these teams, but right now I think 9 is the perfect spot, and I think it is very fair. At number 8, I have a team that might be a little high, but I think after a recent call-up, I think you know what I'm talking about, they'll be higher, and that is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, yesterday, of course, my main topic on the show was about Paul Skeens being called up by this team, by the Pirates, so I do have the Pirates here at 8. That's mainly going off of projection for what's going to happen now with Skeens coming up, but also just with what they're doing. I mean, they are third in the NL Central. They are 17-21, which isn't horrible. They're above the Reds, so they're above the Cardinals. But right now, I'm just focused on this pitching staff. I mean, Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, Paul Skeens could prove to be a lethal 1-2-3 combination in the future. Mitch Keller has not pitched great this season, and we're going to be very interested to see what Paul Skeens does tomorrow. But I'm looking forward to watching this top 3 go in action. They're going to be very, very exciting to see. Also, after that, the hitting core is really solid. You have guys like Connor Joe, Brian Reynolds, Alika Williams, who's been really solid. You just sent down your former first overall pick, Henry Davis, but he's going to be a nice piece of the future, I think, as well. So if you're a Pirates fan right now, there's a lot going right for you. There are some good pieces here that I'd look forward to, and yeah, just really exciting if you are a fan. And yeah, I'd be very excited. At number 7 here, I have the reigning NL champion Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, the Diamondbacks were like the Reds in the regard of I had them very high for the preseason, higher than a lot of people. I had the Diamondbacks as the third best team in the National League. I also said it was pretty clear as well. So moving it down to 7 did hurt me, but it's just been injuries, I think. Merrill Kelly's been hurt. Eduardo Rodriguez has been hurt. John Montgomery hasn't exactly found his groove yet with the Diamondbacks. He's been solid, but not amazing. So I think we'll see that and just see their pitching depth come to fruition and be better. So we'll be seeing how that affects the team. After that, the hitting, I mean, it's been okay. Corbin Carroll has been horrible, unfortunately. I think it has to do with his offseason surgery, getting just back to his regular self and doing better than that. I mean, he has really been underwhelming this season, really not been good at all. So I think once he gets back on track, that this can make this team much, much better and, do a lot better. So I think overall it's just underperformance and injuries for them. I still believe they're one of the best teams in the league when they are healthy and when everyone's performing up to their standards, but we'll have to see. I mean, Corbin Carroll right now is OPS plus 66, so definitely not good. Definitely not what you want to see. So, hoping it gets better from here and hoping he does better overall. So, but I think that'll definitely help the Diamondbacks with their season. Number 6, I have the San Diego Padres. This is where I'm moving into playoff territory, quote unquote. 6 teams do make the playoffs in the National League. So with the Padres, I didn't have them higher before, but I do now. Mainly it's because of the addition of Luis Arias. I love this lineup. I mean, it's just incredible. There's really no weak spots in this entire lineup. Every single player here is doing really well. Luis Campusano, Jay Cronenworth, Manny Machado, Ha-Sung Kim, Xander Bogaerts, Jackson Merrill, Jurickson Profar, Arias, Fernando Tatis. So there are some underperformance here like Machado. Xander Bogaerts hasn't been great, but you look at the potential of this lineup and it's just incredible. They're dead even at 500 right now. I do think they'll get higher than that. Their pitching hasn't been the greatest, but also hasn't been that bad. So we'll have to see with this team, but I do have them here. I think it's pretty fair and looking forward to watching them once Arias gets set and once he is a bigger help to this team. Number 5, I have the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, the Brewers are a team I've talked about a lot on the show, how well they have done and how much they have surprised me this year. So, with them right now, I am looking forward to seeing what they can do and seeing if they can keep it up. I did not expect them to be this good this year, but they have been. I mean, they've done a really good job. Their team's just kind of gritty and just kind of fierce in a way that people like watching old baseball of. I mean, they run the bases well. They play defense well. They have some good young hitters on this team. Jackson Chourio is really, really good. So definitely watching this Brewers team, but they've been one of the surprises of baseball so far. And number 5 on my NL Power rankings here. Number 4, I have the Chicago Cubs. Now, the Cubs have been a big surprise this year to me. I expect them to be solid, but not this good. I mean, Seiya Suzuki's been a beast, and he's coming back soon. Cody Bellinger's been solid. Their lineup has been great overall. Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, but really it's been the pitching, and it's Shota Imanaga, how well he has done. I mean, he's been arguably the best pitcher in baseball this year. He's clearly the leader for Rookie of the Year currently. You're getting Justin Steele back. You have some other solid pieces in that rotation as well, like Ben Brown. Jameson Taillon's been really good. Javier Assad's making his way. So there's a lot going right for the Cubs team right now, mainly in the rotation. And they've been doing really, really well. And props to them. And that's why they're here at number 4. Now, moving into the top 3, we all know what teams it is at this point, but the order might surprise you. At number 3, I have the Atlanta Braves. So the Braves here are a great team, obviously, but they have had some recent struggles. They did get swept by the Dodgers a few weeks ago. Their pitching is injured, and it's kind of a weak spot for them right now. Their hitting core has been underperforming, mainly Ronald Acuna Jr. So, while watching the Braves right now, I think their hitters need to step up, mainly Acuna. I think these guys need to start hitting their weight and start doing well and just playing up to who they are. So, If I'm a Braves fan, that's what I'm hoping for. But still, a great team, top 3 in the NL. No one's debating that, just how high they should be. And I do have them as the second best team in the NL East currently. They are second in the NL East as well, so that's really interesting. So, of course, number 2 has to be the surprise Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the Phillies aren't exactly a surprise because we knew they were a great team. But at the same time, how well they have done this year is incredible. And kind of like the Cubs, their rotation has been absolutely insane. I mean, Ranger Suarez has been incredible. Nola and Wheeler have been incredible, of course. Spencer Turnbull's been insane. Christopher Sanchez has been really solid. So their pitching rotation is helping them a lot this year. Their hitting core, of course, is really good. So I'm a Phillies fan. I'm very excited for where this team's going. I'm very excited about just what the team is showing here. I mean, Spencer Turnbull's been so good. And this pitching rotation overall has been incredible. And that's why I do think they are number 2 here. Unfortunately, could not go up to number 1 as it is the Dodgers. We all know the Dodgers are number 1. Not going to spend too much time on it. We know how good the Dodgers are. We know what players they have. We know just who they are and how good they are. So, yeah, not a surprise here that the Dodgers are number 1, but it has to be said again, and I want it to be known. So, Dodgers are here at number 1, and feel pretty good about it. So, yeah, that is it for my National League Power Rankings. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my decisions, if you agree with the teams there. We're going to our second segment here now, which is going to be talking about the American League Power Rankings, just at the National League. So I'm going to go for the American League here. So we'll talk about that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. Some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment, which is going to be talking about the American League Power Rankings of this year and so far. Obviously, I just did the National League, so it's only fitting to do the American League. So, we're going over that. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get into the second segment of today. So, going over the American League Power Rankings, as I said, you know the deal. Let's get straight into it. So, at number 15 for the American League, we all know who it is. I mean, do I even have to say it? It's the Chicago White Sox. They're clearly the worst team in the American League, maybe the worst team in baseball. Again, it's up there with the Marlins and Rockies, as well as them, of course, being the worst team in baseball. So, I think if I were doing it by overall MLB instead of leagues, it would be interesting. But the White Sox are clearly the worst team in the American League. No surprises here. They don't have that many good players, and the good players they do have are not playing well. They got a lot of injuries. They're really bad. I don't know what else to say about the White Sox, except for repeating the point that they're really bad at baseball. Their record shows it. We're going to move on. At number 14 now, I want to say, by the way, there is a gap between 15 and everyone else. So even though you're going to see teams at 14, 13, 12, they're not as bad as the White Sox. I want to make that very clear. 14 might be, but I think there's still a gap of being bad and then White Sox bad. I want to make that clear. 14, it is the Los Angeles Angels. No surprises here again. Weren't a great team when Mike Trout was healthy. Once Mike Trout got hurt, they became a lot worse. Anthony Rendon hurt as well. Obviously, Anthony Rendon in 2024 isn't the Anthony Rendon of 2019 or 2020, but still is obviously a impactful injury to them. So, Angels are not very good. Losing your best player doesn't help. Losing Ohtani in the offseason doesn't help. They're really, really bad. Not much else to say here about the Angels. Not many good things are going on with them. So, yeah, pretty clearly here at number 14. Number 13 now, I have, unfortunately, I know a lot of fans can be mad at me, but I think it's fair. It is the Houston Astros. Now, if someone told me that on May 10th I'd have the Houston Astros as bottom 3 in my American League power rankings, I'd probably look at them like they're a crazy person. But wow, they've been bad this year, and it's some of their fault and not their fault. I mean, their pitching injuries have sucked, but even the depth guys that are supposed to come in and help these pitching excuse me, to help these pitching injuries, to help solidify the rotation once these guys are injured, they have not been good as well. I mean, J.P. Front's been bad, Spencer Arguetti's been bad, Hunter Brown, who's a regular in the rotation, he's been bad as well. So overall, just not a great team right now, and the offense isn't performing as great. Alex Bregman has been underperforming notably. So overall, just not a lot going right for the Astros right now. I mean, they sent their starting first baseman down to single A, so just shows you what's going on. Potentially, there is a rumor circling that they could fire Joe Espada for a veteran manager to kind of shake things up a bit. That would be really interesting. I don't think that would be the correct move, but I guess they want to try something, so I would get it. But I do think Joe Espada is a good manager. I just think he's fallen in some bad circumstances. But we'll have to see with the Astros so far. It's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the year plays out for them. But yeah, going from a World Series favorite to 13th in the American League, not something I think anyone was expecting. At number 12, I somehow, some way have the Oakland Athletics. I don't know how the A's found themselves not in last place, but hey, good for them. I mean, the A's this year have not been horrible, which is obviously very surprising. So far, you look at the American League standings. I mean, the A's are third in the American League West, and they're 18 and 20. They're 18 and 21. There's 2 American League West teams below them in my rankings and in their standings as well. So obviously, I mean, they're doing something right. I think mainly with them, it has been the bullpen. Mason Miller and Lucas Erkig. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. If not, I apologize. But the setup man for the A's, Lucas, their bullpen has been shut down in the bottom of the 8th and bottom of the 9th. Mason Miller has become one of the best closers in baseball. Goes over 100 consistently, is already drawing trade interest because if you're a good player in the A's, you'll probably get traded. So I don't think he'll get traded, but still, I think it's mainly the bullpen why the A's have been that good. I mean, if you get a lead, it's probably going to stay there because of this bullpen. The pitching hasn't been horrible as well. Some of the hitting core players on your team have been solid as well. So I think that overall, the A's have a lot going for them right now. Did not expect to say that, but yeah, it's been really, really good, and props to them. At number 11, I have the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays are a team that seems like they never live up to their potential. I mean, they have just been super underwhelming right now. Last in the AL East by a game and a half, which is crazy. So, obviously, I do have them as last in the AL East here as well. So, yeah, Blue Jays are a team that seems to have more potential than actual performance. We look at all these good players on the team, like, wow, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Alejandro Kirk, Bo Bichette, George Springer, all these other great players on the hitting core, really, and they just don't perform. I mean, Bo Bichette's been struggling. Vladimir Guerrero has just not had the season we expected him to have since 2022. So, yeah, overall, it's been a big pile of underperformance for this Blue Jays team. Really not doing that well. So, I do have them here. The pitching rotation's still pretty great. Not going to really dog on that, but overall, still underperforming, still not doing great, and it is a shame for the Blue Jays. Moving into the top 10 here, I have a team that was barely above the Blue Jays, their AL East counterpart, the Tampa Bay Rays. It's kind of the same thing as the Blue Jays. It's just kind of a lot of underperformance. They have a lot of pitching injuries, which is definitely hurting them. Obviously, losing your best player in the offseason because he allegedly did some very bad things. I'm talking about Wander Franco, of course. I think that's also bad. I don't think he'll ever play in baseball again. So, just a lot not going right for the Rays when they entered the season with the pitching injuries, with the Wander situation. So, it's kind of, I think, accumulated into the season now, and they have not done well. So, yeah, they have really not done great so far, have not performed, and that's why they are at number 10. At number 9, above the Red Sox and above the Rays and the Blue Jays, is the Red Sox. I don't think anyone's expecting me to say that, or anyone was expecting to say that when we started the year, but props to the Red Sox. They've been doing really well. very solid, and they've surprised a lot of people. I mean, the Red Sox have had really good pitching from their youngsters. A lot of them who were kind of mediocre before are kind of finding their way now and are making themselves into real legitimate options for this rotation for the future. So if I'm a Red Sox fan, I'd be very excited. I'd be very happy with what's going on right now, and I'd be excited about our future. I mean, I'm not a Red Sox fan, but if for your future, I mean, they have a lot of good young players coming up through the ranks. Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer, Kyle Teal, Zdeno Rafael already got extended. Roman Anthony, I'm not sure if I said him already, but yeah. So if you're a Red Sox fan, you should be very excited right now. The team is outperforming a lot of expectations, doing really well. I don't think they'll be a playoff team, but hey, you're fighting for it. You're having players perform really well. So props to you guys, and doing a really good job. Number 8, I have the Detroit Tigers. Now, I contemplating having the Tigers a little bit higher on this list, but I thought the teams above them were just simply better. But I really like what the Tigers are doing this year. I think their rotation is really good. Tarek Skubal is really, really good. Jack Flaherty has been an awesome signing for them. Their bullpen's been really good. They have had a lot of good offensive contributors for this year. Mark Canha has been a really nice addition to coming there. So I think the Tigers finally have an identity, finally have a good baseball team. And yeah, I'm just really excited about them and very happy with what's going on with them. They've had a really great fan base, a really good team, and excited that they are finally performing. There still is 3 years left of that Javi Baez contract, so you try not to think about that if you're a Tigers fan. But overall, the rest of the team's doing pretty good, and if I'm a Tigers fan, I'm very excited. Moving into the top 7, we have at 7 the Seattle Mariners. Now, I contemplated having the Mariners higher, and I think they're still a very good team, but I just simply think the teams above them are better and are just simply are better teams currently. So the Mariners right now are second in the AL East. They're 20-18. For the playoffs right now, I mean they are the 7th team. So just going off of that, really, obviously was the basis of my rankings. What the actual MLB rankings are. So, but with the Mariners right now, I mean they have a lot going good for them. Their pitching rotation is outstanding. Their hitting core still has to find its way a little bit, but has some really nice pieces. So I think once the hitting core does, I think they'll be a better team. I think they'll be higher on this list, and I'll be looking forward to watching them. So, yeah, if you're a Mariners fan, I would be excited about that. But right now, it's not great, and it hasn't been amazing. So, yeah, gotta watch this team, and gotta watch how they do perform. So, yeah. At the top 6 now, playoffs again, we have the Kansas City Royals. Now, I love this Royals team. Their pitching rotation is one of the best in baseball. Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Brady Singer, all doing really well, all being really good starting pitchers for them, and performing in this tough AL Central. I mean, right now I got them 3rd. Obviously, there's 2 teams above them who are really good, but the Royals' pitching rotation is absolutely outstanding. Their hitting core is performing well now. Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, other pieces of this young hitting core. So yeah, if I'm a Royals fan, I'd be very excited about what's going on, and very excited about my team's future. This rotation right now is looking really great, and if you can add maybe a big hitter, whoever that is, whether that's free agency, trade deadline. Apparently they tried to add Luis Arias, which is very, very interesting. So it could signal some more. Trying to get some more pieces of the trade deadline. It's going to be something very interesting, and I'm definitely watching this team in the future, definitely watching how they perform, and very excited to see. At number 5, I had the AL West leading Texas Rangers. Now, the Rangers are a really good team, no shocks here. Their hitting core is outstanding. Their pitching isn't great, but we all know that. We know there's a lot of injuries here, so overall, I'm a fan of this Rangers team. Again, their hitting core is just so outstanding that it's incredible. Wyatt Langford just was lost for a few weeks, but he really wasn't performing anyways, so it's kind of just something you can deal with right now. I mean, Jonah Heim, Nathaniel Lowe, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Ezekiel Tovar, Adolis Garcia, Evan Carter, just the amount of young, good hitters on this Rangers team is outstanding, and they're looking really, really good. And once they get some of the pitching back from the injured list, they may even be higher on this list. We'll have to see, but really good team, and really excited to watch them throughout this year. At number 4, I have maybe a controversial take. I have the Cleveland Guardians. So obviously I don't have them in the top 3. Now, I think the Guardians are a great team, and I'm not going to say anything bad about them. I'm kind of going to group them in with the team above them at number 3. I have them at number 4, even though they've been doing so well, because I think the team above them is better, and that is their AL Central counterpart, Minnesota Twins, who I have at number 3. Now, the Twins have done a real 360 from the start of this year. They were in the bottom 3 of this list at one point, I believe, and now they have moved all the way up. So really, really just big props to them. They've done a really, really good job, finally playing up to their potential. All their players are doing really well. Carlos Correa has done really well. The pitching's finally come in clutch after losing some of your guys in the offseason. So, I'm a Twins fan. I'd be very excited, and just really good job what you've been doing. I think they are currently better than the Guardians. The recent run they've been on is absolutely outstanding. I think they just have a better roster than the Guardians, which is why I have them at 3. But both these teams are really good. Both are obviously great in the AL Central. It's a shame one of them has to be second and one has to be first. But obviously, the top AL Central is really good. 4 teams in the top 10. So, really watching this. 4 teams in the top 8, actually. So, very much looking forward to watching this team. Watching these teams in this division go forward. But I do have the Twins as the best team in it currently. Maybe a surprise, but that's where I have them. Number 2 and number 1. We all know who it is. It's the Orioles and the Yankees. I had the Yankees at 2 and the Orioles at 1. If you want to swap it, that's okay. I do think the Orioles are the better team right now. I think with all the young core they have, with all the pitchers they have, the Yankees' pitchers hurt. Their offense has been streaky sometimes, but overall, they're still a really good team. That's why I have them at number 2. I just think the Orioles are a little bit better. I do think they edge them out in some regards, like pitching with Corbin Burns being there, Kyle Bradish coming back, Grayson Rodriguez doing so well. So, very excited about this Orioles team. Very excited about watching these Orioles and Yankees teams battle all year and seeing what they do. So, very excited to watch it and really excited to see it. So that was the end of our American League Power Rankings. Let me know in the comments how I did, what you would have changed, your overall thoughts on it. We'll be going to our third segment, which is going to be talking about a little bit of a trade deadline preview. The trade market has been a little more active than usual for this time in the baseball season, so I did want to kind of just mention some other guys I think could potentially be on the move later. Obviously not as early as someone like Arias was traded, but still as our trade candidate. So we'll be talking about that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, which is going to be talking about a little bit of a trade deadline preview. As I said before, the trade market has been pretty active for this time in the baseball season. I mean, of course, we've seen a blockbuster trade already with Luis Arias getting traded to San Diego. We've seen some other guys who are kind of a little lower on the trade market get traded, but still notable, like Luis Guillorme. We just saw Robbie Grossman get traded. So I think there are some pieces that are, again, getting moved a little earlier than you usually would see in baseball. This isn't really a sport where trades just happen 24/7. It's really just in a contained time period in the off season or around a week before, starting a week before the trade deadline. So I did want to mention some guys that I think are going to be good trade pieces. It's going to be guys off of bad teams and some other. I'm going to go towards the end a little bit more of star players who I think potentially could be traded. Cardinals, hint, hint. So, let's go talk about it. So, the first player I did want to mention for bad teams, I mean, we talked, I think it's just going to be not a player, but basically the entire Miami Marlins team. By the way, as we're talking about trades, a minor trade just has happened again. The Brewers acquired Mitch White from the Giants. So Mitch White is getting thrown around a lot recently. Got traded from the Dodgers to the Blue Jays last year. Got traded from the Blue Jays to the Giants this year. And now he's getting traded from the Giants to the Brewers this year. So that's another minor trade. Not something significant, but I figured it was notable enough to talk about with this because we are doing trades. So with the trade deadline, first of all, I just want to talk about the entire Miami Marlins team. I mean, I think basically every single person on this team is up for sale at this point. You look at the regular ones like Jesus Luzardo, one of their better pitchers who's young, has some control left. There were some trade rumors with him in the offseason as well, to the Yankees, the Pirates. So I think he is a piece. He hasn't been doing great this year, and he is on the injured list, so we'll have to see him get better. But that's an option. Edward Cabrera, also on the Marlins, is an option. Jake Berger, Josh Bell, maybe even some of your younger guys like Trevor Rogers if you want to get some hitters. Jazz Chisholm is another guy that could potentially get a lot for you. So right now, if you're a Marlins fan, basically every single person is on the trade block. You just saw it with the Rise. This team is going full out for a rebuild. Not exactly surprising as you see their record. So if you're a Marlins fan, expect every single person to be shopped at the deadline. I think the most likely person is one of the pitchers to get traded. I think Luzardo has a really good chance, assuming he bounces back and pitches really well. A lot of teams can be interested in him. I think Jake Berger is another player. Hasn't been doing great this year, so maybe don't want to sell at his lowest value. But Jazz Chisholm, another guy, again, I think has a really good chance of being got. He's a really good center fielder. Has versatility, of course, can play in the infield. Has a lot of speed, has a lot of personality, a lot of swagger, which I think is significant to a number of teams. So a lot of the Marlins players are going to be in the trade block, and very excited to see what does happen here if you are a Marlins fan. Next, after that, I think that was the most obvious ones. Other than that, some other obvious trade candidates, for teams that we knew were going to be bad. First of all, it's the White Sox, kind of the same thing as the Marlins. Basically, anyone and everyone can be gone for the White Sox. You could go from high players with high pedigree like Luis Robert or Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada. Obviously, Yohan Moncada has been doing great, but still is a good player. To lower guys like Tommy Pham, Michael Kopech, Eric Fetty. So there's a lot of people who could be traded for this White Sox team. They're really bad. They're clearly in a rebuild. I think, again, most people are going to be traded or be mentioned with trades. So that's another team I did want to mention, as you could potentially trade everything. So it'll be interesting to see if they do trade. After that, though, I did want to mention to a few guys from the Athletics. Paul Blackburn is one I've mentioned a few times now. Blackburn is just a very quality starting pitcher, a guy who throws good amount of innings, gives you some just good baseball. Not a star, but definitely a really solid pitcher, and definitely a guy I think anyone would like to have on their team. He's a really good player, and is very, very good, and I think is a very quality starting pitcher for any team that they would love to have. So, if I'm an A's fan, I think Paul Blackburn could get me a good amount. I think starting pitching nowadays is just so coveted that even if you aren't the greatest player, even if you aren't a star, they'll still get a lot for you. So, definitely watching Paul Blackburn here as a piece. We've mentioned Mason Miller. Ken Rosenthal had a whole article on him yesterday about his trade. His trade value. He mentioned that if, for example, a team like the Padres, who probably could use a closer, wanted to trade for Mason Miller, they'd probably have to give up Jackson Merrill, which obviously they are not doing. You are not giving up Jackson Merrill for a closer who had surgery this offseason and is also a closer. Yes, Mason Miller is very good, but he's not worth that. And honestly, good for the A's to have him at such a high price value. You're going to Sacramento, and those fans are going to want something to see, and I think Mason Miller is going to be someone people are going to pay for. The closer who throws 100 consistently is one of the better in baseball at this point. So that's definitely a option, but I don't think he's going to really be traded. I think it's a possibility, but I did want to just mention him. Other than that, we have some other bad teams. Don't really have any significant ones. The Giants have been doing poorly, and if they were to sell, I think there would be a lot of guys that could be of interest to teams here. Michael Conforto currently is really the only big player on offense, and I think a lot of teams would jump out for. He's doing really, really good, and everyone else is not. Usually you could say, you would want to trade Matt Chapman. He's on a 1-year deal, but Chapman is not hitting, and Conforto is. So I think Conforto currently is, he is more of a player of interest to teams right now because of the way he's hitting. So I think Conforto is a player that could be gone if the Giants continue to struggle. You could trade Blake Snell maybe even Camilo Duval if you wanted to. I don't think that would be a great move, but he's a closer and, he only has a few years left in that contract. So that's another possibility, but we'll have to see with the Giants. But if they continue to struggle like this, they could have a really amazing trade deadline and really set up the future of that team. I talked about it yesterday as well. They could potentially sell in my segment about the Giants. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the Giants do sell. Just a thought I had. I don't know if it's for certain, but it is something I did want to mention doing this segment. So, yeah. Now, some other guys I want to mention, more big names, I'd say, definitely for this year. Some guys that maybe you wouldn't expect, but definitely could be on this list. Now, the first one is Nolan Arenado. Now, Nolan Arenado would be a shocker. He just got to St. Louis after requesting a trade out of Colorado. Nobody blames him, by the way. So I think any player is going to try to get the hell out of Colorado if they can. So, yeah. But Arenado would be a shocker and would really, if he was to become available, I think would become one of the biggest players trade deadline ever. I mean, it would be hard because of his contract. He does have 4 years left on this contract, but it does go down after the years. This year's $24 million. After it's 21, then 16, then 15. So it does go till he's 36. But look, John Heyman put in an article yesterday very clearly, which is that Nolan Arenado hates losing, and the Cardinals right now have been losing for a few years. They don't look like they're really going to stop it anytime soon. So if Arenado gets fed up, I think he could request his way out of St. Louis, try to go to a team that could win. And he's from the LA area. The Dodgers could trade for another star. I don't know how they would, but I think they could. But I think there's a lot of teams that could look to trade for Arenado if he were to become available. This is just speculation, but I think it could become more real to trade deadline. It would not shock me if he were to be traded. I think usually we talk about Arenado and Goldschmidt, but Goldschmidt has been horrible this year, so I don't really think anyone's going to exactly be willing to give up a lot for him. So right now, if you are a Cardinals fan, I think that's something to think about here. Could you potentially trade Nolan Arenado? It doesn't not make sense, is what I'm trying to say. So that could potentially be something that we see here. Pete Alonso is another name I wanted to mention. We've mentioned him multiple times. If the Mets continue to be this mediocre, and if they don't want to pay Alonso, I think he could be traded. Now, usually David Stearns is more of a buyer at the trade deadline, but if he thinks that he doesn't have a chance to sign Alonso long term, he could trade him. Luis Robert, another one I mentioned, a superstar that a lot of people would love to have. Another one that's interesting is Justin Verlander. He just got traded back to Houston, but I think if he starts to pitch solid, 1 year left in his contract, assuming he doesn't hit that 150 innings threshold. As a Mets fan, really hoping he doesn't. So I think he could be traded if the Astros are out of it. If Verlander wants to win, he could, try to force his way out of another situation to win, which would kind of be crazy. Him getting traded back to the Mets would be absolutely hilarious. Probably a 0% chance of it, but it would be really, really funny. So we could see Verlander be on the move. Again, he's not pitching the best this year, but he just did come back, and it is Justin Verlander. So I think the Dodgers could trade for him. I would love for the Orioles to trade him. I think I have talked about this on the show before, either on the show or in a short, but I'd love for Justin Verlander to go to the Orioles, be back in the DMV, give the Orioles that veteran starting pitcher they could use with Corbin Burns and that younger rotation. Winning a championship with Baltimore would be an absolutely amazing storyline. Really, really fun with that, and I would definitely love to see it, but just is speculation about Verlander getting traded. I don't think he will be, but it is a possibility, I'd say. Alex Bregman is another one. He hasn't played great this year, yes, but at the same time, if the Astros continue to struggle, I think a team will bet on Alex Bregman being the Alex Bregman of the past, and he could potentially find himself traded. So that's another thing. I think that's really interesting. the Blue Jays, they could potentially try to blow it up. I mean, if they continue to be this mediocre and they think, we want to start all over, we want to kind of get the score out of here and kind of build from scratch, I think a lot of players could be out of here. Yusei Kikuchi, Chris Bassett. You could even look to trade Gosman. I think, again, that's more of a extreme scenario because he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. But, he's older. He doesn't have that many years left on his contract. It is expensive, but he has 2.5 left. So if you were to trade him, you would get an absolute haul. Again, this is just pure speculation and just something I've been thinking about. But if the Blue Jays decide, this core is not working, we want to blow it up, he could be someone that really gets a lot of interest. Yusei Kikuchi could get a lot of interest. Hitting core, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., George Springer. Even though these guys haven't been the best, they're still really good players. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Blue Jays do at this trade deadline. And another team I think could do something interesting is the Mets. Again, we talked about Alonso, but what about the other guys on one-year contracts? Harrison Bader, Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, JD Martinez, Jorge Lopez. You could even flip Reed Garrett after this amazing season he's having. So it's going to be very interesting to see what these kind of middle-brow teams do, like the Mets, like the Blue Jays. Do they buy? Do they sell? They do nothing and hope their team gets better? I don't know. It's going to be very, very interesting. Blue Jays and Mets are two teams I'm definitely watching. Giants as well, that could just put the trade deadline, flip it to a way we never seen before. So I'll be very interested to see that and talk about it, and extremely interested to just see what does happen with these middle-brow teams and what they do end up doing. So that was the end of our third segment here, doing a little bit of a trade deadline preview, talking about some things I could potentially see happen. We're moving into our fourth and final segment, which is going to be talking about Robert Gasser and his call-up from the Milwaukee Brewers, one of the top pitching prospects in their organization. So we're going over that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC. To access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth and final segment, which is going to be talking about Robert Gasser and his call-up by the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, let's get straight into it. So, this was something I had in the back of my mind for a little bit. I did think that Gasser could potentially be a call-up by Milwaukee. He was doing really well in AAA for a good amount of time now. I mean, you look at his stats. It isn't the greatest actually. But it is only 12 innings pitched, and last year as well, he had a 3.79 in 135 innings. So really not focusing on this year much. So Gasser has been one of the top prospects in the Brewers organization since coming over in the big Josh Hader trade from last year's deadline. Actually, 2 years ago, I should say. So Gasser becomes one of the newest young, good starting pitchers for this Milwaukee Brewers team. You have some other guys like DL Hall, Freddie Peralta, of course. So adding Gasser to your core is something that's very exciting, and I did want to go over it. And we talked about the Brewers before in the show, how they have been a surprise team this year, how they have been a team that I wasn't exactly that high on. I didn't know what their exact plan was and what they were going to do, but they've done really well. And overall have been a very positive team and a team that is looking good. And I think that has been because of their pitching, because their base running, because their defense, and just kind of an old school level team. Their pitching depth isn't the great, but I think the higher points of it are really great, like Freddie Peralta, who has been very solid. So looking at Gasser right now, he is 24 years old, a little bit older for a prospect, but obviously came up, so it's okay. 6 feet, 192, so pretty skinny, tall as well though. Of course, was drafted by the Padres, was one of the big pieces of that Josh Hader trade when he got traded to San Diego. Gasser has a 50 grade fastball, a 60 slider, 55 cutter, 40 changeup, and a 50 control. overall is 50 rated out for MLB Pipeline. Obviously, his slider is really good. I also do like his fastball. I think maybe a little bit more than others. I think it has some good movement. I think it's going to be a pretty solid pitch overall in the major leagues. So I like his pitches here as well. Obviously, that's very good body for a pitcher. 6 foot 192. Maybe needs a little bit more muscle, but I think being a tall, lengthy, skinny pitcher is perfectly fine and is okay. Again, his stats in AAA last year were really, really great. Before that, in AA, also pitched well. Had 2021 when he started his career, had some short innings in rookie ball and A-ball, but was solid there as well. So overall, I think Gasser is going to be a very good pitcher in the major leagues. I think that this is a guy that is going to be a part of the Brewers core from now until the future. He is going to continue to help this young Brewers team with their pitching, with all the players that do come up. And just, if you're a Brewers fan, I'd be very excited about the future. You were kind of stuck in a little bit of a mediocre place before, but you traded some of your stars like Corbin Burns, like Josh Hader, and you got back these good prospects that are making impacts now and giving you a younger core than you've had before. You of course have already some great young players, like you have Joey Ortiz, who came over in the Burns trade. You have Jackson Chourio, of course. You have Sal Frelick, Tyler Black, William Contreras, who's an absolute monster. I mean, that guy's insane. Big part of your own core, but I think just calling these guys up, having them, be big parts of your young core, be big parts of what you're trying to build there in Milwaukee is very exciting. And if I was a Brewers fan, I'd be very excited about the future and very excited about what is going on with you guys. So, yeah, I mean, with Gasser, again, I think he's going to be a quality starting pitcher at the next level and is really going to help out this Milwaukee team. Now, when you look at this Milwaukee team, I do think that calling up him was a good idea. I think Gasser showed he was ready, was at the correct point in his career where he would be called up. It was correct to call him up, and that it was the right decision. I think that overall he has proven he's ready, being 24 now, maturing, and being just a good prospect all around. He's dealt with some adversity before, bouncing around college in his career. Sorry, the mic was off there for a second. Had to sneeze, didn't want anyone to hear that. But continuing with this now, with Gasser, he did bounce around colleges a little bit, but eventually found himself at Houston, so dealt with adversity throughout his career. Other than that, again, his pitches, I want to go through them a little bit more. For right now, he has a really good sinker. It's around 91 to 94 miles per hour. I think it's a plus pitch at the major leagues. His slider is pretty slow, but has a really good break, especially on lefties, that people swing at it a lot, and it gets a high chase rate. So he does that really good as well. His cutter is a pitch that he has incredible control on, which is something else that's a big factor with him. His control is really nice. He doesn't really have exactly that true secondary pitch, like a second plus pitch after that slider. So that will be something he has to develop. And if he doesn't, we'll have to see what's going to happen with his future and where he does go from here. But still very exciting for Brewers fans. I mean, you look at him right now, he was the number 5 prospect in the organization. Before that, you have Tyler Black, who was called up. You had Jefferson Cuero, who's going to be called up pretty soon in AAA. You had Jacob Mirowski, who is a really great starting pitcher prospect. Jackson Chourio, of course, was called up. So overall, there's a lot going right for this Brewers team right now. Their young core finally is performing, finally is coming up, and finally is doing well. So if you're a Brewers fan, I think you have to be excited about the future, excited about what is going on with your team. And yeah, very much looking forward to watching Gasser come up and watching this Brewers team. I mean, I did not expect much of them this offseason after trading away Burns, after having Devin Williams get hurt, after having Brandon Woodruff get hurt, but they've really surprised me. They've done a really good job and have had some good pieces come up. And it's going to be a hard division being in there with teams like the Pirates, the Reds, the Cubs, the Cardinals even, who obviously have not done great but still have a lot of good talent. So it'll be interesting to see where the Brewers do end up landing this year. do end up finishing in the division. So, yeah, if I'm a Brewers fan, I'd be very, very interested to see where this team ends up. I'll be very interested to watch this young core, this younger team that I'm maybe used to as a Brewers fan. So, definitely something exciting to see. But I did want to talk about Gasser. I think it was an interesting call-up by the Brewers. Expected, but still interesting. So something I was watching, and still an interesting storyline for this year. So, yeah, that is the last segment of the show today, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the post notification bell to get notified not only when I upload, but all the other great content creators on this channel do. Some unfortunate news here is that this is my last show for 2 weeks. I will be going on a trip that I had planned before I took this GSMC job. I still love it here. Still love doing this show every day, talking to everyone here. But I will be gone for 2 weeks. I'll be trying to make as many shorts as possible. So on the YouTube channel, GSMC Sports Network, the shorts will be there. You can catch it up and see. You can catch up with me there and see my thoughts on what's going on with baseball. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that before I do sign off for the next 2 weeks. But I am gonna miss this. Gonna miss talking to everyone, doing a show. So I want to thank you so much for watching. Again, we invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for more baseball content and updates. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see if baseball throws at us next, and I'll see you guys in a few weeks. Thank you and goodbye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn ain't that